Welcome to SearchBlocks. This is a demo to show you some of the features and functionality that we have. We're one of the leading providers of Search Enterprise and been in the industry for over 14 years. With over 400 customers in 30 different countries, we're one of the early adopters of Elasticsearch. Out of the box, you get many connectors that we've developed ourselves, as well as Google and Apache open source connectors. Straight out of the box, it supports 32 different document formats and 37 search languages. It's ready to use for indexing, search, and analytics. We also support sentiment analysis, text analytics across all the different collections. There are some minimum requirements, as you can see here, which are also linked in developer documentation. I'm now going to move over to SearchBlocks. Once you've downloaded SearchBlocks and you log in, the first screen that you get to see is your collections dashboard. Within this administration console, you will see collections, and any changes that are made and applied are at collection level. Search settings, where we can configure the search settings across all of the collections. Analytics, and admin. As you can see here on the dashboard, you're able to have a view as to which collections you've already created. And once you have created a collection, you get an ID number, which is sequential, the name that you provided, the status. There are two statuses, one which is green and one which has a spinning wheel. When it's green, either it means that the indexing activity has already been performed and completed, or it's a new collection that hasn't yet had any indexing activity. You'll be able to tell by the number of documents. With it being 0, but it's a new collection. Last updated, number of queries run against the collection, number of documents you have currently indexed, and when there are multiple types of document formats, when you hover over the pie chart, it will give you a breakdown as to what they are. The language is selected, and here right on the right-hand side, you're able to perform on-demand indexing as well as within the collection itself. I'll show you where to add a collection, and then we'll look at an existing one to show its configurations. It's very, very simple to use. To add a collection, simply click Add Collection, provide a collection name, and then you're able to choose which of the collection types you need, whether it's for a web collection, file, database, or through to something custom that you'd be using API. And then you select your language. Make sure that you leave no spaces or underscores in the name. It's that easy to create a collection. Now, I'll show you an existing one that's been set up. Here is where we set our URL, and by default, we'll get a DOS asterisk, which will allow us to then crawl and index anywhere from that site. If, however, you prefer to just maintain the indexing within your root URL, then this is where you would state it here. Otherwise, it would be default settings. And then here in the disallow path, if you didn't want to crawl an index for pages /sport, then you would state it here. Please note here is where you'll find all the different document formats that we support. By default, it will have all of the documents selected. However, you can pick and choose. So if you wanted to create a collection that was just based on specific document types, then this is possible. And then once applied, you save your changes. and it'll apply that, and you'll have to clear and then index your collection. I'm not going to make those changes, but I'm going to move forwards onto settings. In the settings, again, everything is done at a collection level, so we can switch things on and off, such as keyword in context. Which will display your keyword within the body it sits. For more advanced setups, sentiment analysis through to cognitive model is possible and achievable through our text analytics licenses. Please do inquire if you have interest. The HTML parser that allows you to choose where the description is coming from, so either from all of the metadata or a specific heading. And our scanner settings, again, all of these are by default, which serve most purposes. However, this is a case of fine tuning. You can choose whether you want a document to be added that's for indexing that's been added over any period of time, or if you only want a collection to include documents over the last 10 days or 100 days, then this is how you would state it. Otherwise, it's the default. Other settings such as document size, spider depth, spider delay, and the user agent and referrer can all be set here as well. If your HTML pages do have robot commands asking not to follow, then we can choose to ignore those. And you have the ability to toggle on and off between following sitemaps and redirects. We support various forms of authentication, from basic form authentication, and if you're using a proxy, then we do support that also. We do recommend that you obtain those credentials from your network administrator just to make sure that you have the highest level credentials possible. As you're able to create as many collections as you like, you are able to increase the relevancy of those collections searches through boosting. So the higher the number you have, the higher its relevancy or priority will sit within your searches. With 1,000 being the highest, if you had 5 collections, you could set this as 1,000, the next is 900, etc., etc. And some additional options that you have are to select on and off the removing of duplicates, stemming, which includes the root word to be included within your search, spelling suggestions, and enable logging, which will provide additional data in the logs in case you need to do some debugging. With the latest versions of Searchbox, you are able to now manage synonyms within the UI itself. Otherwise, these can be managed within Searchbox server folder in the synonyms files. And each of the synonym 1, synonym 2 will be referring back to your collection ID 1 or 2. Please note that this is only a sample for you to see how to manage them, and this is not a defined directory for you necessary to use, but it gives you some great examples and show you how easy it is to manage. As you saw on the front page or on the dashboard, you're able to perform the on-demand indexing. This is also achievable here with the addition of being able to actually schedule your indexing activity, either once, hourly, or monthly, by selecting your date, giving time AM or PM, We do suggest that you leave at least 30 minutes between any of these scheduling activities. Otherwise, you can perform it on demand here. You are able to perform indexing, clearing, or refreshing. I only perform the refreshing for a collection that's already been indexed and completed and doesn't have any current indexing activity that's going on. Otherwise, if you need to make changes to the settings and save those settings and apply them, then we suggest you clear, then you index that collection again. Otherwise, if you're looking to update it with additional documents, or you know that documents have been updated to your source, then you can hit refresh. And what will happen there is it will add, update, or remove any documents relating to your root URL. Should you need to just add one, update, or just delete one specific document, then this is achievable here by stating its path, and either click Add, Update, or Delete. And you can check the status of it. Okay, now I'm going to show you a couple of other collections, but in principle, the settings are the same. We just change how we're setting up the root or the source of where the data's been going to be crawled and indexed. So for a file collection, just like with the HTTP, we're just going to state where our directory path starts from. The allow path we can leave as default, or if we want to just contain it within the C drive itself, we can state it here. Same with the disallow path. If there are specific path locations you don't want to include, they can be stated here. The addition is that if you have the files accessible remotely or that are available via a server, then you can actually map the path to a URL, okay? So you would state your path and you would state your URL here. This makes it quicker also for indexing, particularly if you've got lots of documentation that is available remotely. Same with the other settings. You can select to have all document types or specific ones only. We don't have the option here of basic form or proxy authentication because it's a file collection. However, the rest of the settings remain with the addition of enabling OCR. Should you want indexing to occur for texts that are within images themselves. Synonyms are managed in the same way. So is indexing and adding manual documents. For database collections, you will see an initial change in the layout first. And that being, instead of the root URL, the root path being the first tab, you see your query. And this is where you would apply your SQL code or query, which needs to be just done in a single line. And there's only one query per collection, which is what will be used when you're going to be crawling in and indexing that data. The main difference you'll see here is that you can select your database type from the drop-down. There are a few database types that will pre-populate the host IP and port numbers. And for these, you then need to apply the database name, your username, and your password. You do not need to worry about putting in the database URL string. If, for example, you do choose a database type that doesn't pre-populate the host IP or the host port number, then all you need to state here is the database URL, and you don't need to put in the rest of the credentials in here. As we won't be scheduling the indexing activity, you have your SQL settings here. We can select fetch size and the interval times in minutes for new data being polled. So here is 10 minutes, for example. If you want to change that to 100 minutes or every 1,000 minutes, this is how you would state it here. And as with the other collections, the same relevancy and boosting terms apply. Once you have saved the actual database credentials, then you want to go ahead and hit test database collection just to make sure that everything's connected as expected. And as with the other collections, synonyms will be managed the same way. And the slight difference here is that, as mentioned previously, you can only do on-demand indexing. But that's because you'll be setting an interval time for new data being pulled. There are various other collections that we have. I'll show you one more before moving on to custom. Again, same with the root URLs, allow and disallow paths with document formats. Settings, synonyms, and indexing. I'm now going to show you the difference with the custom collection. And please bear in mind that the custom collection here is really for testing and for you to see and apply the initial API key, etc., and to see which key information you're going to need as a minimum. Otherwise, the custom collections will be managing through API using your own API request tool. Now the path setting you won't see in here, so we have to use something called the API Explorer. Before I go into that, I'm just going to show you here that the settings will be the same to that of the HTTP collection, and same with the synonyms. We manage them here in the UI or actually within the search box folders themselves. We don't have an indexing option here. That's because it'll be done using API. So we have the option here to choose either XML or JSON format. You can start the initial indexing here and then load the sample request. Now please note that this is only a sample, just to give you an illustration of what information is required. But I will highlight the key information that is needed here. So, the API key. Now this API key is the API key that you need to refer to within search blocks, admin, and that API key there. The collection name, it must be exactly how it's stated here. It's only by happenstance that I've only written custom here and it says the same here. However, if I'd have written or provided the name custom1, then I'd need to make sure that it was exactly the same as custom1. Then our URL, UID, and location need to be updated as well. These are the key bits of information I needed when setting up the custom collection. And then you would configure the rest within your API requesting tool. Hit index, and it will provide you that initial indexing activity. Please note that every changes that you make within collections are at a collection level, as mentioned before, whereas search, analytics, and admin are changes that are saved at a global level. I'm now going to move on into the search settings. Within the search settings here, you can see you're able to change number of results per page, the sorting, hit highlighting, so whether you would like to have your search term highlighted. You can switch case sensitivity on and off as we're searching for every page or for the first page only. You can cluster the search results, not to be confused with a cluster server setup. This here means that it will bunch or provide a version of a faceted search in that it will give you some filters that you can drill down to within the basic search functionality. So for example, here is the default setting for the basic search. This is the faceted search, which gives you filters that will appear here on the left-hand side. So when we select to have cluster results, we need to select clustered template, and we apply those changes. The output will change, where you'll see some filters here. Otherwise, it'll be a default setting that's ready for you to use. All of these templates you can customize. So you have access to those within the style sheets folder. Or you can create your own and then upload them here. Two very popular outputs are XML and JSON, which can be saved here and apply the save changes. However, please note that you can also manage the query within the URL itself. And even the number of collections. Which can also be selected here. But I'll come back to search in a minute. For anybody wanting to use secured search, you also have the option to apply forced secured search, so that it causes the end user using the actual search functionality itself to have to log in. So currently, I'm going to pass this URL, and I don't need to apply any login credentials. However, once you set up forced or secured search, you can apply the forced secured search. And you can see here, you then need to apply your login credentials to then gain access to it. What that will do will recognize who they are and then allow them to see the search results based on whether they have permissions or not. The actual configuration with LDAP for Active Directory and Okta for collection level security will be managed within secure settings here. So to enable secured search, you apply your LDAP credentials. And to enable Okta, you would apply those credentials there. There are separate instructions which we can provide in order to set up and configure search blocks so they will not only adhere to the permissions of allowing somebody to gain access to the search, but to actually display content based on their profile as well. A really great feature that we have, which will be familiar to people using GSA, known as Keymatch, is the featured results. So what you're able to do here is create featured results such as AdWords, which you can then promote certain key terms and documents to display within your search results. So if you have something new that's been appointed or new information, something that's been updated, then you can promote those results to the top. You're able to see a preview here, but I'll go into one of them and I'll show you how to set it up. It's very simple to use. You can see that the names that we've given. There's two different types of featured results, text or graphic. You can give a priority from one over the other because you can create as many as you like. And you can either set them to expire, and I'll show you that. So as you can see here, you can toggle between having a text or a graphic, provide a name, URL. You can manually apply your own keywords, or you can choose to use keywords from the URL. If you are going to provide your own keywords, you can also set them to be keyword phrases. An amazing feature here is that you can actually run a campaign. So you can decide that you want to run a key or featured results to start on a certain date and end on a certain date as well. So forward planning as well as containing within the campaign period. In addition to that, you can select the number of times it actually displays. So the default setting is -1, so it will just continue display. However, if you only want this featured result to appear 100 times, then you can do so by stating it here. And as mentioned earlier, you can create as many of these as you like. So you can select the priority from 1 through to 26 and have one display over another. If you're using a graphic, then this is where you're going to state your graphic URL and then save and activate, unless you want to preview it first. I'll show you what that featured result looks like. And then you can see here at the top where it's being displayed. If you want to see it appear in the basic search, as here, you do need to change the setting the template to featured results top. And lastly, in the search settings, you can do a preview. So what this means is you can see what a search term looks like without committing to the template. By selecting from the drop-down, preview, and it will give you different outputs in a separate tab. The next one we move on to is analytics. Within analytics itself, here in the analytics dashboard, you get a 30-day summary in the form of a content cloud and a couple of line graphs showing you the number of queries and documents that have been clicked through across all of the collections. However, what you can do is get a bit of a more refined view down here in the summary report, which is all exportable in different formats across each of the different collections over the last 7 days, 24 hours, or 60 minutes. At a more granular level, in query, you're able to select, again, by collection type, but also a reporting period from over the last 10 minutes or through to something that's custom, which will give you total number of queries and average times. And the great thing underneath is that you also get a report which is all exportable for the top 25 search results with, top 25 searches with results. It will show you the query term and the number of queries. You also have the option to look at searches with 0 results, query term, number of queries, and of course they'll be by collection. And this really helps you to refine and identify keywords that you may need to add that aren't being used, but you can see that there is a high number of people looking for that specific search term, but aren't actually being used. So there you can update your keywords. Top viewed will give you click counts by collection for a query to see the most popular. And you're also able to clear those reports if you need to for search queries, top clicked, over the last day through to something that's custom. I'll now move on to admin. Now in the admin panel, we have a few different tabs. So in license here, this is where you'll be uploading your license key, whether that's your 30-day trial license key or the one that you've purchased. You'll see the version you've downloaded and the license type you have. The all-important API key if you're using API for custom collections. Your IP address, which we need in order to issue you with a trial license or your fully purchased license. Searchbox allows you to have only one administrative user. However, you can create as many business users as you like. Within users, you can change your password from the defaults. And here you'll be creating business users. Just select a username, give it a password and confirm it, and then apply it. The main difference being between a business user and an admin user is that business users will only have access to search and to analytics. What that means is that it's great for those who've got marketing teams that want to assign tasks to their teams for creating featured results and manage those campaigns without the worry of the collections or the administration settings being configured or changed. For taking a backup of your collections configuration, you can do so by exporting that file here. It's a good practice to have just to take a backup of your collections configuration, especially so in the event that you're going to do an uninstall and reinstall or an upgrade from previous version of Searchblocks, then you don't have to go ahead and create all of the collections again. You can simply upload the export file here, and then they'll appear back within your collections themselves. And lastly, within the administration panel is the cluster. Now you may be using a single node or a single server. However, if you find that you're in the need of using more than one server, we do offer the option to use or create a cluster with a minimum of 3 servers, which can now be managed directly here within the UI itself. And to do so, we simply apply the IP addresses, assign whether it's an index or a search server, and then add the node. Always only add one index server and try to add it first. And then you can apply the other 2 search servers, but making sure that they're selected as search servers. And should you need to add to that cluster by adding more servers, always add them as search servers only. If you need further help with setting up a cluster, do get in touch with us because we can help you out with that. That concludes the Searchblocks admin console. And now I'll go on over to the search consoles. Now we move on to the basic search. With the basic search, you're able to run the query here. Or within the URL itself. The Searchblocks searches across all the different collections and data sources. You're able to toggle on and off which collections you would like to be included within your search. Either by clicking these buttons here, or you can make the selections up here by changing the collection number. The relevancy of your search term against the results is displayed here. Sorting is achieved through here. And once you see your results, you can click through to the results. And it'll take you straight to them. We're able to perform wildcards. An advanced search also gives us the option to play around with a couple of different options, which includes the exclusion of a particular word. Within the advanced settings, you also have the option to choose documents within a specific language, format, updated time, documents with terms, and results per page. All of this can be consumed, and we can provide you with a link for you to enable to integrate within your ACMS. The main differences between the search, or simple search, and the faceted search is the inclusion of the filters where you can drill down your results, such as here. But in terms of the search queries themselves, they run in the same way. Suggestions. Relevancy is here. Choose your sorting by at the top. To return similar results for a search term that you found, by clicking on more like this will return. The main difference being is that you're able to filter your results here on the left-hand side by the filters themselves. So we can choose content type, keywords, which collection, and the date document added or updated. In addition to the filters that are already existing here, we can also create additional filters, as long as a metadata table and type is available using the mapping.json files that are provided in the Searchbox server folders. Creating additional facts list is easy using the index.html file by adding a new field type and mapping it within the JSON file as well. Make sure when changes are being made that you switch off the Searchbox server and then switch it back on to apply it after saving changes. We'd love to hear back from you. If you have any questions or would like to try our proof of concept with our 30-day free trial, please get in touch with us.